Welcome to The Funniest Thing,
We made it.
where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
It sure does.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from CHOBO Studios in beautiful...
Downtown Van Nuys.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh, look who's up in the cockpit today.
Yes, we got a gift from Lori, my wife.
Yes.
She found a bobblehead Jesus, but it's a cool one because he looks like almost like a cool.
He's got like a manicured goatee type thing going on. So
I
if you're watching on YouTube,
I knew you'd appreciate that.
yeah, and if you haven't gone on to subscribe on the YouTube channel, please do. We're getting great, high quality, full episodes live from CHOBO Studios. Plus, you get to see Indy giving shakas or hang loose signs from the control room, which brings us great delight. And you get to see our guests and all the stuff that we share.
And speaking of our fans,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you for your contributions on
Right. I guess I could take the sunglasses off now and get down to business. Here we go.
Patreon / funniest thing.
Yes.
Your contributions to the show keep us running.
Right.
And we really appreciate it. It helps us continue to get this message out.
Right.
And
You know what? We got a great message from Patreon.
Yes, I knew you had something.
Our Patreon contributor, Kat Hurst, referring to our last episode, best episode ever. So I believe that was The Winning Kick with Ken Fendrick.
Yes, it was the winning kick.
So many things I love about this episode. The song was the icing on the cake. Keep up the great work. Love you guys so much. From a proud member of the Funniest Thing Club and your very first Funniest Thing contributor, Kat Hurst.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you,
right.
Kat. We got another letter. Actually, I don't even need to read that, but we got a letter from someone on Patreon, too, and we wanted to make this clear, too. They said that they weren't able to contribute at this time. They had been contributing, and we want to let you know that there's no need to ever feel bad about that. You can just hop on. It's very easy. As soon as you hit the button to stop contributing.
Yes, it's very easy. If you ever would like to stop contributing, to just go online through Patreon. They make it really easy.
You cancel it, and
that's fine. We totally understand, and you could always come back and start contributing again. But in the meantime,
yes,
please let us know your name and so we know, because then we'll continue to pray for your prosperity.
That's the main thing.
Yes,
exactly. So, because God is the source, and there's infinite channels, so we don't worry about that type of thing. But we want to just keep blessing everyone involved. So if you want to request prayers for or anything that we read, we could recommend in terms of prosperity.
Yes.
And that's what this show is all about today. So should we get ready with no further ado?
Well, I think what we could really say about today's show and what our fans are in for, I can sum it up in 2 words, Ed.
2 words.
That's gourmet.
That's gourmet. That's correct. And today's show is called That's Gourmet with Carla McClellan. The truth is that we have an abundant and ever-increasing supply of all things good. The key to living abundantly is giving abundantly. The best way to start giving is to do so consciously. Start blessing now. Developing the habit of blessing your interactions, your place of employment, your thoughts, your body, your friends, your food, and everything else you can think of gets us all blessing our way through the day. No, wait. So, when you start doing all this blessing,
you'll be thrilled.
You'll be thrilled with the positive results. You know what? I'm a teacher, and I had this student I was working with yesterday did the same exact thing. The first time when reading a description, I skipped a whole line. So you do this stuff, this silly blessing stuff, proclaiming that's gourmet. You'll be thrilled with the positive results. On this episode, Darrell and Ed will get us all blessing our way throughout the day, exclaiming, that's gourmet. And during the second segment, Unity Minister Carla McClellan adds the ingredients for our best life with today's daily word, oneness. You know what? We should tell them how this episode came about last week, right after the show. You went to that fair.
Oh, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Okay. So last week we completed doing a show. It's up.
That's
It's
right.
available now. If you're new listening to us, the name of last week's show is The Winning Kick with Ken Fendrick.
Yes, or Ken Fendrock, which is his new nickname.
Yeah, because he looks like if Barney Rubble was a male model. If you imagine that, that's Ken Fendrick.
Then his name would be Ken Fendrock.
So
All right.
we get so much out of doing this show, which goes along with prosperity. You know,
Yes.
We firmly believe, Darrell and Ed,
Yes.
that there are givers and takers in the world, and the givers are the ones that are having all the fun. So why is this show feeling more and more like Wayne's World?
That's gourmet, baby.
So anyway, what I'm getting at is we love you, all you who listen, all you who watch,
Right.
because we feel so good after doing this show and sharing all this stuff. We're high as kites. You know, we float right out of CHOBO Studios.
Right.
And after the show, we went, after we hung out for a while and we
Had
went
our-
our separate
We
ways.
had our post-show meal.
Yeah. I ended up going toward my neck of the woods and Ed went towards his.
Right.
So by my house, they were having a big fair, the Bologna Creek Fair, La Bologna,
Yeah.
and it's the town's fair. So
Yes,
I
rides,
thought I'll go down there.
hot dog on a stick if you like.
Yeah,
police
all
officers,
that stuff. Yeah, police officers, the Ferris wheel, the beer tent.
Line dancing.
So I had this urge to go. I didn't know why, but I just said, I'm going to go. So I go. There's parking.
Well,
it was easy.
you didn't know why, but you were blessing it. You were
Yes.
calling that thing gourmet all week. You could not wait to go back.
I know. It made no sense,
I
folks.
know. I
'cause-
was scratching my noodle a little bit, but I know better than to question when Darrell gets on one of these intuitive, like, Darrell's excited about the La Bayona Festival. That's what part of me, I go, just relax. Something good's going to come from it. So go on.
Yeah, because normally I don't enjoy crowds. That's why I had saying this.
Yeah.
So anyway, I go to this thing. This is the thing. Never argue with a hunch, folks.
That's right.
They'll take you places far greater than reason would allow.
That's
Trust
right.
me.
That's right.
So I get parking easy. I'm on the phone with Ed. He has, he's like, oh, wow, let me know how it goes. I go walking in and I walk around and none of the things that I thought were part of my hunch happened.
Right.
But I ended up having this unexpected, incredibly positive talk with a female CHIPS officer.
Right.
It was like talking to an old friend about my time at the Honolulu Police Department and all this. And then I'm on my way out. I go, well, that was enough. I guess that's why I came, because that felt so
Right.
good,
Right.
So rather than wear out my hunch, I start leaving. All of a sudden, the guy goes, hey! And I didn't recognize this young, like really good-looking, hip guy.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, it's me, man. And I'm like, whoa. And he takes his glass and he goes, I don't know if you remember me, but honey, come here. So he calls over his wife and his sister, how I found out later, his sister goes, this is the guy. This is the guy. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, I'm from Delicious Pizza.
We used to eat delicious pizza on a regular basis, sometimes before the show.
Yeah, it's the name of a local pizzeria. And he worked there. So his wife goes, what do you mean? This is the guy? Oh, my God. And he goes, yeah, this is the guy. Because this guy and his friend, meaning me and Ed, would go into the restaurant. He goes, no matter what would happen, you guys were always going, that's gourmet. So his wife goes, oh, my God, we tease him so much, meeting this guy, this cool kid, that all he ever does is like basically bless. We got this guy blessing his life.
Yes.
Unintentionally, because he's always blessing things. That's
Right.
gourmet.
Right.
So I was so high. I go, oh my God. So I talked to Ed and I go, that's the perfect title for a show.
I'm the one who said that's the title for the show.
Then you said that's the title for the show. And then I said, well, who do we have for the guest? And he goes, Carla McClellan. I go, oh my God, what a perfect sound.
Yeah.
That's Gourmet with Carla McClellan.
Yes. Yes. And then the next day we went to
The
University
very
of Santa
next
Barbara
day.
to see Kathy Norman speak.
And her topic
Was all about mindfully blessing your food.
mindfully blessing her food, and she ended it with a class or a group
First
activity.
First she says, bon appetit.
Yes.
It was how she ended her, and I'm going, whoa, this is
Julia
already...
Child.
Yeah, this is already crazy because we're already thinking that's gourmet, and her whole thing is about blessing your food, bon appetit. And then she said, and we have there's a program going up at the Center for Spiritual Living in Seattle, I think it was.
Yeah, and we're going
to start doing it. So let's watch the video.
And the video is Gourmets for God. So we're like going, oh my God.
Yeah, it was just downright incredible. So that's the way this stuff works. But that's gourmet is a great way of blessing everything. It's these silly things like saying, no matter what's going on, if, like my old student Lucas taught me. And this has been written about in Darrell's book, Break Out of Your Box, which is out now.
About Lucas.
Yeah, but it's a similar thing because Lucas would walk into a school or a cafeteria.
Remind him how old Lucas is.
He was 7 or 8 years old at the time.
A young metaphysician, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. And he was in my class, and I do teach special education. So I get the most amazing little metaphysicians who don't fit into the regular...
they're like the wizards from Hogwarts.
Yeah, right. So I go gather them up. But the thing we learned from Lucas was that first time he did it, he was walking into school, and mind you, I'm not the biggest fan of schools myself. The way the thinking that goes on there, it's not the most metaphysical. Like they're not teaching the most uplifting principles.
Yeah, I think the word is it doesn't feel as enlightening.
As one might like.
As it could be.
As one might like. So, so there's all these people coming into school and whatever, potentially stressful beginning of the day. He walks in, he fucks his head back, he slaps the brick wall and he goes, I love this place.
Oh, my God. It changes everything, folks.
Yeah, and then the same thing later on another day. We walk into the cafeteria and it's a hot day and there's... I don't know. It doesn't have
Grumpy
the most festive
lunch
vibe.
ladies.
Yeah, but he walks in, he puts his arms out, looks around. I love this place. I told him, you must be the only person in the history of this room that's ever said that. But Darrell and I adopted it. Actually, there's a sign still at the Unity of the West Side that you had made.
Yes.
That says, I love this place. It's a great affirmation. And that's a similar thing with that's gourmet. If you bless it as gourmet, you bring out the gourmet qualities in it. And because it's coming from this childlike place that overrides irrational thinking.
Yes.
It's amazing how it just kicks us into joy.
It sure does.
Yeah, I mean, it really is the recipe for an amazing day. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a lot better than what we used to cook up.
That's right.
It's a recipe for
disaster.
disaster.
Oh, my gosh. You're not kidding. So let's do the breasts together.
Oh, yeah, we got 3 breasts.
We have the recipe for an amazing day right here. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. The recipe for an amazing day is to add a dash of that's gourmet.
The recipe for an amazing day is to add a dash of that's gourmet.
The recipe for an amazing day is to add a dash of that's gourmet. All right. Our movement inspired by Salt Bae, Stephen Tom Thorpe's favorite celebrity chef. What did you want to say?
Are we going to dive into some readings here?
Yeah, we got a lot of great readings. Should we start with Kathy Norman? Speaking of Kathy Norman, she has a book out, Reverend Minister Kathy Norman, daughter of the great minister Nancy Norman. She is a minister at Unity of Santa Barbara at the moment.
Yes.
She has a book called Sermon on the Molehill. We got ours off Amazon. It's really good. It's packed full of metaphysical truths. And the reason why I wanted to say this also, because it was just occurring to me, that God never stops being good. Life never stops being good. God never stops being generous. The good we seek never stops coming. So even if we think we're tricking ourselves by saying that's gourmet, we're tricking ourselves into the truth.
Yes.
We're tricking ourselves out of the illusion of problems and into the truth. That's the things that we're sharing, and everyone shares them in a different way. We wear funny shirts, sunglasses. We have a crazy chief engineer in there. But It's just principle. It doesn't matter. That's the thing. It works because it's based on principles that you can apply in your life, and it doesn't matter. That's what the New Thought movement was really about. Like when the film wars were getting started, people were driving across the country, little pockets of people coming, like studying these same things, coming together,
coming back to life,
and going, "Wow, this stuff's amazing."
Well, it's really the meaning of resurrection and awakening is what we're saying. It's
right.
Meaning, like throughout the Bible and other spiritual teachers,
right?
There's always this thing they're always saying, "Wake up, thou that sleepeth." Wake up, because
he wasn't dead; he was just sleeping.
The thing is, like Ed's saying, this is good news. Meaning our good is always here and always accessible.
Yes.
But most of the time we fall asleep to it.
That's right.
With our negative commentary or the negative commentary of others that we pick up.
Right.
But so it's not about tricking ourselves into trying to get our hopes up. No, it's actually waking ourselves up.
Right.
And the best way to do, and the reason we like using silly affirmations.
Right.
And this is backed up by Florence Scovel Shinn. We didn't come up with this.
Right.
She says using silly, rhyming, like childlike affirmations are the most effective because they slip past our critical reasoning mind,
right,
who thinks, "Oh, that's silly, that's stupid, I'm not even going to bother
right,
touching that." But that's good, folks, because then it drops into the subconscious and wakes us up again. Like, whoa, wait a minute, what was I thinking that nonsense for? Holy cow!
That's right. We call it my district now the Duck Factory because we've been feeling more and more like what's the story?
The ugly duckling.
The ugly duckling, right? So when you're a swan and you're around duck thinking, they're like, you might do swan things, joyous things, and the ducks are going, "Hey, you're awfully loud and joyous for a duck. You don't sound any. You're a terrible duck."
Or that's not going to work. Please stop that.
Yeah, but then you get amongst swans, other people who are practicing these principles, and they go, "Yes, I think the same thing," and
it's working.
And all of a sudden, instead of being a nuisance, or you realize, wow, I'm more in tune with the good than the people who are, having serious faces.
Who are quacking?
Who are quacking. So
swans don't give a quack.
Yeah, that's right. They don't give a duck. Swans don't give a duck.
But it's easy to fall. That's why we're saying we're waking ourselves up to the truth.
Right.
We're waking ourselves up to the prosperity. We're not trying to convince ourselves of something that's not true or too good to be true. No, that's not the case at all. That's the good news.
Right. And and it's not that swans are better than ducks.
No.
It's just a metaphor for life, which is we have been conditioned to believe that we are something other than we are.
Yes.
And we are just remembering who we truly are. That's what that's why they're called great truth teachers. And that's the truth that'll set us free. This week we heard a great Joel Osteen where he recommended remind God of his promises, of God's promises to you.
Yeah. You said, I shall not, I will always have and shall not want.
That's right. You told me the truth will set me free, and it will. You
said for the rest of my days I shall prosper.
I've been using that, and it is amazing because it's a lot about you. Like we recommend a morning routine, which is wake up, read some inspiring words from other great truth teachers. If you go to darrellanded.com, there's a reading list with books that we read on the show and in the morning. Then do some meditation, relax into the stillness, connect with your inner divinity, your I am consciousness, and then write and speak some affirmative thoughts, because once we need to plug in our creative mechanism of our word into this creative flow. It's one thing to listen to others, to prepare ourselves to do so, but lately on my way to work, I just reminding God of all the promises God made to me. Whatever it takes, I'm just letting it out, and then it starts to really flow through me. So by the time I get to school, I am a swan.
You're wide awake.
Yes, and I'm blessing the ducks, and I love the ducks. Ha ha ha! You're such a cute little duck.
Yes.
I don't have to worry about that because I'm a swan.
Yeah, we're not being mean to the ducks or critical of the ducks. Now we can embrace the ducks for being ducks. Because we realize who we are. One last thing before you read that, and to share the importance of doing a morning routine. This is a healthy habit that I can't imagine doing without.
Yes.
And the guy who recommended to me, Mike Dugan, 36 years ago, said, living life successfully is not about jumping out of bed and racing into your miserable day.
Right.
If you can't wake up just 7 minutes, 10 minutes earlier to be kind and loving to yourself, there's nothing anyone can do to help you.
Yeah.
And now science is catching up. All the great spiritual teachers all recommend starting your day on the right foot, meaning don't race around. Start your day with thinking thoughts that bring your mind back to the positive stream of life. Whatever morning readings you prefer.
Right.
If you're looking for some, we have a reading list on our DarrellandEd.com.
Yes.
But here's the thing, folks. Scientifically, in the last 20 or so, no, more than that, probably the last 50 years, it has been discovered scientifically that you are still in an alpha state for several hours.
Right.
Upon waking up, going from the theta, which is asleep, to the beta, which is fully conscious.
Right.
And during that alpha state, it's crucial you're mindful of what you're telling yourself and what you're thinking about, because that is when your subconscious is most receptive to accepting these ideas and thoughts about your life, your day, the people around you. So this is just more reassurance that this stuff isn't just a nice, fun thing to do or a silly thing that Darrell and Ed do. This is science finally catching up to these spiritual ideas that this stuff, this simple little routine in the morning, can transform your life in a relatively short time once you start getting it.
It will transform your life.
Yes, and then we'll continue to do so. Today, I can't imagine not doing a morning routine.
Oh, yeah, no way.
I
no matter
can't,
where we are in the world or what's going on.
Yeah, when we travel, I've always done it this way because it starts as a decree for all of us. We're going to get into that habit. But once you start getting the results, even just the results of how good you feel as you're doing it, and then the good you feel looking forward to your day, which I never did, but also the proof in your circumstances. You're going to be more attuned and more willing and confident, more attuned to hunches and more willing and confident to follow through on them.
Right.
And you're going to be calling your friends, and that's how we got the name of our show. Me and Ed are constantly calling each other and our friends saying, funniest thing, you're not going to believe what happened.
That's right.
And it's always funniest thing, X, Y, and Z. I affirmed, I looked forward with faith, meaning joyful expectation. And Ed, look what happened.
Yeah. It's amazing. And it really opens. I find that the shift happens from when I don't feel so good, and the shift really happens when I realize, oh, I'm not feeling good because I'm holding all my good inside.
Yes.
I'm resisting the releasing of like my inner splendor. I'm not letting it's when that starts to flow out again. That's how I know I'm really, really in the flow. And the other day I went to school and I see this little girl, and I've known her for a year. And I could tell she's like she's standing away from her line.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like breathing really shallow. And I had just done my morning routine, and I went up to her and I said, "You're sensitive like me. Let's take a deep breath together." And so we took that deep breath together. I said, and it was just because I do this myself. I just said, "Look, man, when we get overwhelmed like we do when we come into this environment, we hold everything in. We got to breathe in and be powerful. You got to be powerful today." And she went about her day. Now every time we see each other, we get this knowing look. We take a deep breath together. And I even saw her running.
She was another swan.
She's another swan. I saw her running relay races in the school at PE, and she was the last person on the relay. And she could have smoked the girl in front of her. She was going so fast, and she slowed down. I could see she didn't want to, like she let the other. And I ran up to her. I said, "You could have won that race. You let her win." She's like, "No." And I said, "Dude, you have a talent for running, and it is good. You can win.
Don't feel ashamed.
Let it out. Just let that shine. You're amazing."
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I used to squash some of my smarts in school because I was afraid that I felt like I wouldn't be liked
Right.
if I was smarter than the other kid. It was horrible.
So I walked away, and a few minutes later, I went into the main office, and this girl was now leaving school a little early for something.
Right.
And she looked up to me. She said, "I beat my part. You know, I ran
She was
fast."
true to herself.
Yeah, she was so happy, like that. Another swan
Yes.
said, "Look, dude, you got to let that out. That's a gift. That's something is good for you to let out. You don't need to be embarrassed. You don't even have to know where it came from or why. Just let it out." She was like beaming. It was amazing.
You know, a lot of times we feel like frauds or ashamed.
Yeah.
And it's not because we're bad. It's because we abandon ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need people, like, it's so nice that there's at least one teacher in there who can see it and then encourage the antidote for it.
Well, it's because, and another thing is, like the swans amongst us, we're not motivated by the things that school is often speaking about. Like, we don't want anything to do with that. So it's like, what's the use? I don't
like duck food.
Yeah. I don't want to like stand up in front of people and say, "Look at me, I'm better." Like,
I never liked that either.
We certain amongst people, and I think everyone really benefits from this, but certain people need it more than others, which is, I just want to bring out my best, and I want it to be a teamwork thing, not a competition thing. I want it to be just sharing my gifts because it feels good to do so. All right, so the 9th commandment of money from Sermon on the Molehill says, "You shall be a good receiver."
Yes.
The problem is not to get God, force, or the universe to give you anything. God has nothing to give you. The universe has nothing to give you. God has already given you everything. Right here, right now, you have everything you need.
Yes.
All that is required for you to be a good receiver. All that is required is for you to be a good receiver. The practice of receiving is one of the most powerful tools you can use to attract more prosperity. As you rise above thoughts of lack and limitation, pay close attention to your ability to receive whatever good comes your way. Call it gourmet, gifts, hand-me-downs, or anything else that is offered
gourmet.
to you. Yes. Often we don't recognize prosperity in any other form than hard cash. Yet by refusing the good that is offered, no matter how large or small, we block the very flow of prosperity that we are asking for. We send an energetic message to the universe about our unwillingness to receive. Every day, practice accepting all the good that comes your way. Receive and let the energy and resources that flow into your life fill you with intense joy, contentment, and gratitude. And again, that's Sermon on the Molehill from Kathy Jean Norman. Should we get roll on to the break?
Yeah, let's roll on to the break so we can get our wonderful new guest on.
Yeah, coming up next, today's guest, the wonderful Unity Minister Carla McClellan, will join us to add the ingredients for our best life with today's daily word, oneness, and a whole lot more. So thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. All right, everybody, welcome back to That's Gourmet. The Unity Minister Carla McClellan, who will be coming up in a couple minutes here. Carla McClellan was led to us. I really believe the spirit of her father kicked her up the stairs into Funniest Thing, CHOBO Studios, because literally on a Thursday, I'm thinking, who is Foster McClellan? Because the book is so unique. We love it. Like, there's no other writer that writes in quite this way. Even the name of the book, Thoughts for a Friend, is unique. Thursday morning, I'm thinking, who is Foster McClellan? Because we've learned so much about so many Unity teachers, but never.
And it's a name that sounds like Colonel Sanders. It's like
we
a
thought he
Civil
was
War admiral.
Yeah, Civil War admiral. 2 days later, we're talking to John Strickland, who happened to be his supervisor at one point. He recommended Carla McClellan, so 3 days or 4 days after wondering who is Foster McClellan, I got to speak with his daughter Carla on the phone, who's also an amazing minister, and so here we are.
It was so crazy because as soon as John Strickland said, "Well, you should get in touch with his daughter," we were both like, "She's still alive?"
Right.
Because we thought Foster McClellan was just like...
1768.
Yes,
was the
1768.
height of his ministry.
It was so... Boy, were we wrong.
But the amazing thing is, when you have these sincere interests and you
Yes.
ask something of the universe responds rather quickly.
Yes.
So let's hear what Foster says.
You know why I love this book? And I showed Carla before we started the show a picture of our good friend Stephen Bruni, who has actually spent some time in prison.
Yeah.
And so these are how wonderful Foster McClellan's writing are, because it really is like the dad you wish you had.
Right.
saying nice things to you as a loving parent.
There you go.
That's why I love it. And that's what these guys feel from it.
Yeah.
And,
right.
So he's helping a lot of people.
He was definitely a swan.
Yeah, because he speaks to us other swans who thought we were ducks and were behaving like ducks.
Right, and even Strickland said he wasn't the type of guy who was very forthcoming with information to most people. He just did things the way he did things. And that's a very swan-like behavior. But John said, my only real job as supervisor was just to love him because he did such a wonderful job. And that's very swan-like.
So now I'm going to let Foster McClellan speak for himself. And if you have the book, Thoughts for a Friend, it's still available. You can get it at Amazon. This one's called Speak of Goodness, which goes great with That's Gourmet. Words are a mighty power in our mouth. Words are the seeds that we plant in our garden, the world in which we live. Everything responds to the word. We know that words we speak can be used for good or evil. We know that the choice of words is up to us. So let's not speak just for the sake of speaking or for the sake of being heard. Let's speak of goodness, and only good will take over in our life. It is important for us to remember that our words of goodness are not confined to prayer time. We are responsible for all our words. We will have to give account for them every moment of our day. They will be reflected in our life. Let's dedicate ourselves to the use of our words to form the type of person we are intended to be. We will watch our words, speak of goodness, and our life will respond accordingly. It's a law, a principle by which everyone lives, whether or not he is aware of it.
Yes. And that goes exactly with what Kathy Norman spoke about, which is really imbuing everything we do with our word and blessing it as good no matter what it is. Because another page, Foster said, praise always works.
Yes.
Praise is closely related to prayer. We can increase whatever we praise. In fact, the whole of creation responds to praise. Let's turn the power of praise upon whatever we wish to increase in our life. That's gourmet. We can praise ourselves from weakness to strength, from sickness to health, from poverty to riches, from ignorance to intelligence. Praise always works if we persevere. He also says true prayer is a continual recognition that all is good. It's really simple, isn't it? But it is the truth. All is good, for all is God.
Let's go praisey.
Let us go praisey. Wow. I mean, that's what's been transforming me. I've been talking about my job and possibly wanting to move on from it, but into doing something different in public, outside of maybe public education. But the main thing that's transforming is by me blessing it and getting out of this feeling that I have to do it. That's what's been killing me for years.
Being obligated.
I thought I had to do it. This is like a family tradition. I better cling to. I didn't even know that it was working because I thought I'm not like that, but I have been. I've been clinging to it out of fear. I like more of like a slave rather than going there to do something I love. But I'm transforming that part, and now it's starting to transform my whole experience of it. All right. So let's thank our listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in to Funniest Thing. Please tune in, subscribe to the YouTube page as well if you haven't. Make comments. You can see us, our guests, everything we're reading. It's just a whole lot of fun. CHOBO Studios. So go there. But also you can catch the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find podcasts. Just Google Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
Yes.
If you want to send us something through the mail, Funniest Thing, P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. In fact, we got a little letter from Leslie Laird, a beautiful card with a horse on the front. I'm just going to read a little bit of it here. She said, Dear Darrell and Ed, I hope my note arrives to find all is well in your world. She was going through something. She talked to you about a scam that involving money. And
what do you call similar to what you experienced.
Yeah, where someone just like identity theft or something. So
something like that.
But she's using these spiritual principles to move through that and actually be blessed by it in a way.
Yes.
So she said, you had thanked a viewer in a recent episode for a Starbucks gift card, inspired me to do the same. So we've been using that. Thank you, Leslie. Truly beyond your laugh, Darrell. Between your laugh, Darrell, and your radiant smile, Ed, one cannot help but be uplifted from your podcasts. I am still a few behind, but I will get caught up for next week or so. Thanks again for brightening the world for so many people through your zeal and enthusiasm and applying the Unity New Thought principles in your everyday lives. Y'all deserve a donut. Love to you, Lori and Mrs. B. That's from Leslie Laird. Thank you so much. We also got something from our good friend and our guest who is Nancy Norman. Where's the part where she
the
wrote
letter's
it
right
down?
here.
Okay, so we got a letter. We got so much good stuff. You want to hold up the $1 million bills?
We got $2 million.
Right. So we are even richer. Well, we were rich the moment we met Nancy Norman. She's such an amazing minister. She said, Darrell and Ed, when I served at the pulpit, in a pulpit ministry, I often had cards printed to pass out as people left. Just found some of these. So
yes, she sent those to us.
Yeah, so, and it says I would pass these along. Thought I would pass these along. Blessings from Nancy. She has one here that says, the inexhaustible source of spirit is equal to every demand. There's no reality in lack. Abundance is here and now manifest, and that's Charles Fillmore. You got another
That's
one?
right.
Oh, yeah.
Swans don't believe in.
She said there's so much good stuff. What? Yeah, lack.
This is my lack.
Yeah.
Lack. That's for ducks.
Yeah. That's,
Swans don't believe in lack.
That's right. Here you go. What do you got there?
This one I love from Nancy Norman. I'm going to hold it up to the camera. It says, not to spoil the ending, but everything is going to be okay. Oh, isn't that the best?
A few more shout outs. Sherry Knight on YouTube from The Winning Kick said, so pumped to be a member of the Funniest Thing Club.
Oh, that's
so
right.
excited. Wonderful show as usual. And then that was for The Winning Kick. And Kick Fear Off the Throne. She said, what a great episode. I really needed to hear this today. So thank you guys. Sending you love and light. Keep up the great work. The world needs more of Darrell and Ed. Kathy Jean Norman simply said, oh, yeah. Angel Ripoli said, great. Ripol said,
I love this name.
Great stuff. I really appreciate you guys, your light and your energy. Keep shining brightly and promoting positivity and love. We want to thank Bruce Foster. He's a friend of ours. He's also listens to the show, watches the show. He's been sending us wonderfully uplifting text messages. So thank you so much, Bruce. Check out our website, darrellanded.com, as we mentioned. We want to thank Chief Engineer, one of our chief engineers. He was actually built Unity Online Radio. He's still with us because we had to take him along for the ride. He saved us when Unity Online Radio closed.
So those who contributed to the show via Patreon /funniest thing, Jeff Comfort's now on our payroll to continue to make sure all our shows end up on the air so you can hear them without a glitch. And we love Jeff Comfort.
Each week.
Yeah, for over 11 years.
Each week.
He's been taking us right into the comfort zone.
Yeah. We also want to thank Indy Fawcett, engineer over here at CHOBO Studios.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much. And also the duck and the swan metaphor that you guys talking about. I think it'd be interesting to mention swans just have an innate gracefulness to them.
Right.
Not that ducks aren't good. It's just they kind of squawk around, but swans got that grace, baby.
Yeah. So true. So true. And often, like, it's a silent grace, right?
Yeah, because they don't speak.
Right.
Like, they don't
need
quack,
to.
They don't honk often.
That's why we need more wisdom in our schools and things to be able to recognize the quiet ones in the back and recognize that still waters run deep. And I think it kind of takes one to know one. And so thank you for that, Indy. So if you want to hook up with CHOBO Studios, chobostudios.com. They also have PodShuttle, which is if you're doing a podcast or a video podcast or whatever, you can send it to Indy and they'll edit it up into reels and things for YouTube and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's podshuttle.io. It's just all digital. We give you an upload Dropbox, and we'll make your reels. We'll put out your podcast. It's all fun.
And it's been really helpful with the show lately. We've been getting a lot bigger reach by putting out reels and such. So thank you for that. Shout out quickly to the prayer line, Silent Unity, 800-NOW-PRAY, 800-669-7729. They also have an app, the letter U, the word pray. If you're having trouble feeling like that's gourmet, it's very helpful to have a prayer associate. Pray from that God mind, that awareness of the perfection of life and of the perfection of each and every one of us. There's something about hearing someone pray from that place that makes it easier for me to let go of whatever I'm receiving. Because remember, we're either receiving and receptive to are good, or we're rejecting.
Yes,
and that's why it feels so bad. There's no real in between.
No.
So we want to be open up and become receptive to our good, and the Silent Unity is a great way to do that. They're actually not too far from where Carla McClellan now sits, I believe. Are we ready?
I'm ready. I've been ready.
It is a great honor. I was actually talking to Foster in my prayers, saying, all right, let this be a good one. Your daughter's on, for crying out loud. And we want to welcome an amazing minister. Carla McClellan to the show. How are you doing today, Carla?
Oh, fantastic. It's gourmet listening to you guys. My life has changed forever. I thought I had one transformation. Now I'm on a different plane.
Yeah.
I'm operating at a different level, I'll tell you that.
That's incredible to hear coming from you. I mean, we discovered over the break that we actually were on Unity on Radio together for a while because you had a show there.
Uh-huh. And I remember Jeff so well.
Uh-huh.
He kept me laughing in between shows. So
Yes.
I'm glad he's found another place to land.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too. I know. We just love Jeff, and it's amazing how, together we have grown our relationship. We always like to ask, especially ministers who have been listening, because you're a professional. We would like. Do you have any thoughts that have been bubbling up or things you wanted to share based on what you've been hearing in the first segment?
What I've been hearing is the synchronicity of life. We say there's one presence and one power at work in the universe and in my life. And all I kept hearing from both of you is ways that I resonate with what you're sharing. I think life is all energy, and so it is vibration and frequency and the bandwidth. And we attract to us people that resonate on our same bandwidth. And Ed, I have to tell you how thrilled I am that you have dedicated so much of your life to special education children. Because I had a daughter that went through special education and a stepson, and I know what a positive teacher, the difference that made in my daughter's life and in my stepson's life. Just to have somebody understand where you're coming from is miraculous. If we taught affirmation in school, I think we'd be doing a lot better than what we're doing now. I have a grandson who's fourth generation Unity. And he does his little subtle ways of doing things. I am a life coach as well as a minister. And so he's grown up listening to me coach people. And in sixth grade, he said to me, "Nan, you know what I do?" And I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I am a career counselor for the other kids."
Wow.
That is awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, so there's a thread that goes through all of our lives. The two stories you read from my dad touched me greatly. And one I wanted to share today was on page 158, trust yourself. And this is one of my favorite sayings my dad said. Trust yourself. Create the kind of life that you will be happy to live with all of your life.
Wow.
Make the most of yourself by fanning the tiny inner sparks of possibility into the flames of achievement. I mean, the guy he was who taught me unconditional love. I mean, he just was a wonderful, wonderful daddy. I chose well.
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
I wish I knew you before I got here. I would have chose a little better. But you know what? It worked out perfect because I'm here sitting with you and Ed. So we all got to the same place eventually.
It's all the same. Yeah. It's our soul's journey is imprinted, as Fillmore said, within us. It's almost like a blueprint of where the journey that we're on this lifetime, and then I believe we go on many other lifetimes afterwards, as he did believe in reincarnation. But I think the message that I got from my father, he liked to call himself Saint Foster, by the way.
What a great name.
Wow. I'm loving him even more.
Oh, man.
And he and my mother ran the retreat program at Unity for 15 years.
Wow.
And, so retreat guests would send them wonderful cards and messages and things. And this one woman had a crystal goblet made for Saint Foster.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I love having that.
Right.
Wow. But the one thing that he gave me that I totally integrated into my whole being was trust the principles.
Yes.
The principles always work.
Yes.
Practice them. Don't judge them. Don't have an opinion about them. Don't have a conclusion about, well, this is, because you start out by thinking, or I thought my parents were crazy when they got into Unity. And, I grew up in it. I was 9 years old when they got into Unity, but, I was kind of, what are you telling me here?
Oh.
But it made sense.
Yes.
Life did get better.
Right.
Didn't mean I wasn't going to face hardships and go through challenging situations, but it meant I had something to hold on to as I went through those challenging situations.
Yes.
And now I do transitional work with churches, which there's a lot of transitions going on right now in Unity. And I can speak from a real grounded, authentic voice of the principles always work. Let's start there.
Yes, thank you. We bring that up a lot. Yes.
There's no lack. That's Gourmet.
Oh my God.
Yes.
There's music to our ears.
Yes.
I had my 27-year-old daughter died many years ago, 15 years ago. And it was hard for me, how did this work with principles? Who the heck am I if I'm not her mother? I'm a minister. How do I minister to people? All that, monkey mind chatter.
Yeah,
that
of
we
course.
All have.
Yes.
We all have that. And I heard my dad's voice say, stick to the principles. He used to call me sis. Stick to the principles, sis, and go prove they work for others.
Yes.
Wow.
And it totally took me to a completely different place in life. But on my morning rituals, I used to get up in the morning after I'd done my prayers and the meditation and some reading, and I'd throw open the drapes and I'd say, I wonder what the universe is conspiring to bring to me that's good today.
Yes.
And go out with that attitude, and you gather evidence.
Yes.
Or what good can happen. Doesn't matter if there's problems in the world. There's always problems in the outer. Always.
Yes.
But God is that possibility for good that we all can tap into anytime we shift from the negative to the positive.
Right.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
I feel like I should go get that
What?
Course in Miracles thing, because it was perfect with what you just said, just the one line.
Yeah, you will grab it, because I was the other thing I was just during my morning routine today. One of the things, this combination of Darrell's input, just different meditations I've learned, and I know John Strickland talked about it. I know Fillmore going through the different chakras and spending time, and for me, there's somewhere I heard, and it rings true, that I picture like way above. You got this crown chakra, this Christ mind, but above, like I picture it like a halo above my right shoulder, but like beyond time and space, where it's just pure white light of spirit. And I spend time just recognizing that a majority of who I am is beyond time and space, beyond anything that's going on. And just by spending that time in there, it really helps me to realize, and that's then blessing the world from that place.
Yes.
It's not until I shift the lens that I realize how much of what I thought was reality was just the way my lens was kind of focused at that moment. It's so powerful to be able to go into pure spirit and change that lens, like you said. Rise above.
Rise above.
Yeah, rise above.
Yeah.
That divine mind.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric Butterworth talks about that, getting the highest view of life. And this is very, very real. It transforms everything, because then I'm bringing this much needed divine perspective into everything I do during the day.
And I like how your dad and you adopted this idea when we go through these seemingly challenging situations, and I reduce it to an Emmett Fox verse that he wrote that has helped me stick to the principles and change the situation, which tends to feel so overwhelming, into now an opportunity, which sounds crazy when you just hear it, but it's true. And it's this: I can have my indignation or my demonstration, but I can't have both.
Right.
And it kind of gives me I want to demonstrate. I want to show that this is going to, I can prove that these principles work if I adhere to the way that I know they operate and keep myself mindful of not allowing myself to just give into self-pity, malice, or any of those other ideas that are going to get in the way of the demonstration.
Right.
And I like that in A Course in Miracles. I just happened upon this the other day. It's not a book we often read from, but lately I just flip it open to a page. And here's the good news, folks. God's will for you is perfect happiness. Why should you choose to go against his will? Because I grew up almost like being miserable and having burdens was virtuous. No, that's a living hell, folks. That is not true. That's insanity.
That's right.
That's duck thinking.
That's right.
I took the very first Course in Miracles class offered at Unity Village in 1982.
Wow.
So I am an old broad, but I am filled with enthusiasm in Theos, in God, all things possible. And when I get down into, I think it's okay to have a pity party, but set a timer.
Set a timer. Well, we get to pity to each other and then we kick each other upstairs.
Right. That's right. That's
when
right.
my daughter died, it was very hard to rise above that. But what happened one morning in my meditation was I realized that Paula Lynn would not want her mother living a sad life. That wouldn't honor her. It wouldn't honor her memory. It would make it sound like, what a horrible, and so I said, I'm going to set an intention that every day I'm going to do something Paula Lynn Howell would be proud of her mother for doing.
Wow.
And I have done that for the past 15 years. It just keeps me connected with the spirit that I know is my living daughter. We're all one.
Wow.
We all exist at the same time. And, it's constantly shifting from what the mind tells you, which is always tipped towards the negative, to what the creative field of possibility offers to us when we get beyond the rightness and wrongness, beyond judging, beyond thinking there's separation, by making others the enemy. So it takes, one of the good things about living in the times we're living in now, guys, is it really takes us practicing the principles to stay in that up vibration and frequency of knowing it's all well. It's all well.
But I like that. I like that because I get complacent when it's not this challenging. And this is when I tend to demonstrate most effectively. When I get laid off or when time seems like so divisive. And I think that's why Unity succeeded so much during the first pandemic in the last century, during the First World War, during polio, all these other diseases, no antibiotics, the Second World War, the Depression, is because we're backed up against the wall, and it was either I'm all in or I'm out. And I like that. But listen to this. What you just said, you imagined, your daughter's name is Paula Lynn. Mm-hmm. She could be saying this to you right now. This is from A Course in Miracles, and this is incredible what you just said, and you're not going to believe what I'm going to read. Okay? God asks you to be happy so the world can see how much he loves his son, and wills no sorrow rises to abate his joy. You are God's messenger today. You bring his happiness to all you look upon, his peace to everyone who looks on you and sees his message in your happy face, Mom.
Yeah.
I added the mom. But that's it.
Yeah.
Can you believe this? We don't plan this stuff.
Wow.
Well, I want to hear what you found out about Carla.
Okay.
What's going on that I don't know about?
Well, before we wrap up and tell you that story, how about we read
the Daily Word?
And I got to say, do you know Michael Schoonover by chance, Carla McClellan?
No.
He's an amazing Unity minister. He's in San Diego. We met him recently. We consider him part of the Guardians of the Galaxy team because he's an oddball like us. Yeah. But he's odd in that he is just so on fire about this certain spirit in these teachings, the zeal,
the
importance of the zeal,
and the belief.
Yes.
And really buying into
it. With him.
Yes, you guys would get along
oh my gosh,
perfectly.
You definitely will. And so he sent this to us. He sends us what he calls spiritual propaganda in the mail. That's another thing. He's a total old school Unity head because he just makes copies of things and sends them to anyone who wants them. And he is just a historian, but he's not a historian for the sake of a museum or something. It's to live it and to feel that.
Yeah, like we are. We love the old books. Because they seem to give you a kick right upstairs. Yeah. There's no wishy-washy. Yeah. It's kaboom.
It's principle, not personality.
Yes.
It's beautiful. So that's who sent us this daily word. So
can you read it for us today?
Yes. I abide in a state of prayer, knowing my oneness with Christ.
Yes.
Remember that you can pray regardless of where you may be or what the situation may be. No person or external thing can keep you from turning in thought to Christ and knowing your oneness with him. Learn to pray whether you need to do so or not. Let prayer be second nature with you. We pray when we realize our oneness with God and with the blessing we seek. Our prayer is answered when we get a clear realization that we are one with whatever we seek to bring into visibility to our life. The good you pray for becomes tangible to you when you enter the high consciousness in which you know that God is tangible to you. You are praying when you draw nearer and nearer to Christ in the realization that nothing separates you. You find that nothing can keep you from the good you desire. You find that all the blessings of Christ are yours when you pray. In the higher consciousness, no belief in separation can keep you from identifying yourself with Christ. And from 1 Corinthians 14, verse 15, I will pray with the Spirit, and I will pray with the understanding also.
Wow.
You know what? Can I sum that up in everyday English?
Yeah.
Because after reading that, this is what came to me for myself, and I shared it with Edward because I need to be reminded of this too. So after reading that, I decided to give myself this idea, which is I sent it to you in a text.
Yes.
Stop thinking about the things you'd like to move away from and start thinking about the things you're moving towards. That's the oneness 100%. With God. And before we close and read the little story we got from somewhere from the archives about Carla, we created this new idea, which is the Funniest Thing Club.
Yeah, right, because we always go, lately we toy around, or one minute we're like, we are ministers, because everyone tells us we're ministers, this is our ministry. Yeah. And then another week I'm thinking, what we really are is truth teachers, because that's what it is. It's principle, and sometimes that feels good. And then we learned about these clubs we talked about in our last show that existed in L.A. It was called the Good Morning Club or something.
Yeah, the Friendship Club.
The Friendship Club.
And then Ed goes, that's what we are, the Funniest Thing Club.
Because it's just about people who practice the principle at the end of the day and want to practice and are excited by it more than anything else. So then Darrell came up with this.
Yeah, so I came up with this. So listen, you might be a member of the Funniest Thing Club, Carla, and you don't realize it yet. You have been for a long time, and I'm going to tell you why. Because here's the definition. If you want to be a member of a Funniest Thing Club, we're a group of truth enthusiasts who live each day as God's ambassador of love. As we consciously radiate love, we perform everyday miracles and experience better than expected outcomes. If you're already living this way or strive to, then you may consider yourself a member. We motivate one another by simply sharing how miracles occurred naturally in our circumstances as the result of living lovingly and expectantly.
Yes.
So I think Carla's a member.
I think so.
I'm a charter member. Yes.
Yes. You are definitely. We have a seat for you.
And laughter is the way we know God.
Yes. That's right.
Yes.
That's right. You are a member of the New Thought Guardians of the Galaxy for sure. We will definitely connect with you and Michael.
Yes.
Do you know Kathy and Nancy Norman?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Kathy's really good friends with Michael also. So, I wanted to read one line from the Daily Words from 1936.
Yes.
Which is really key to my life, which is never think of God as withholding your good from you. Because when I was very young, I sat in church and I heard about this potential of going to hell. And for me, I was like, I'm done. Like, I made a very early, I was like, I guess I'm done. And then I would just spend a lot of time. I always thought God was very quick to condemn me and withhold from me. And and I thought, and lately, the thing that saves me is when I'm in self-judgment is go back to principle. It can't be true. Never think of God as withholding good from you, because it's not in the nature of God to do that. It is not even possible for that to happen. And that's why
God's will for us is to be happy.
Yeah, so proclaiming that's gourmet gets me out of my schlumpiness. It helps me remember I'm a swan like Carla McClellan. And we have a great story for you. One last thing. Is there anywhere you want people to reach out to you, to connect with you, Carla?
I'm really easy to reach at Rev Coach Carla on Facebook, or I have a website, revcoachcarla.com. But I mean, you can call me. I think my phone number's there too.
Oh, good.
I love connecting with people, and I especially love praying with.
Wow.
So
there you go.
Reach out for me.
Yeah, so maybe if you're out there and you think you're in one of those moments where you're like, God is withholding from me. I'm not. Call Coach Carla. Call Reverend Carla. She'll be happy to pray with you, because the beauty, this is, for all of us, it's a bit of a selfish enterprise, because when someone asks me to pray, I feel so good. It's so much easier for me in a way to affirm for someone else, and then it boosts me into a higher altitude, and my own problems get put into quote problems get put in perspective.
And as you heard on today's episode, that Carla's like the CEO of the Hair Club for Men.
That's
because
right.
She's not just the CEO, she's actually
also
a client.
member. Yeah, that's a client.
She actually lives by this stuff has applied it to all sorts of good and bad experiences throughout her life. So I'm sure she'd be someone great to connect with.
Well, this is going to make a lot of sense to people that know Carla, because little Carla McClellan was always very spiritually attuned. I mean, she's the daughter of Foster McClellan, for crying out loud. Of course she's attuned, right? One day, her Sunday school teacher found her praying profusely alone in the chapel after class. Carla's teacher asked her what she was praying so hard about. Carla was very concerned. I mean, this is a young girl praying alone profusely in a chapel. She's very concerned. And she said,
I'm praying for our chickens because their eggs are cursed.
Her teacher was very confused. Well, Carla, how do you know that those eggs are cursed? Carla looked up and shared.
My mom was planning a party and I heard her tell Daddy that they are serving deviled eggs.
Guys are something.
Oh, it's not Niles Rogers.
Hey guys, why don't you just sing on? I think all this stress and strife is overrated, don't you?
I sure do.
I only have one accent.
the guitar there, Ed.
What's that?
Tilt that mic down if you can. Yeah.
Okay, over here?
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, who's Ed? This is Niall.
No, it's Niall. Who are you talking to, Ed? Who's
My
Ed?
bad, Niall.
We must put an end to the stress
That's
and
in
strife.
strife.
I think I want to live the gourmet life.
Gourmet life. These are gourmet times. Leave your cares behind. These are gourmet times.
Here you go. Read us out. Reverend Carla McClellan, we love you.
Visit darrellanded.com to find easy links to everything we do.
We love you, CHOBO Studios.
And as always, thank you for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. These are gourmet times. Leave your cares behind. These are gourmet times.
One more time.
Okay.
Last thing right here.
Okay.
Gourmet. Darrell and Ed love you.